And so I did. I got my education, but before I got my education, I was still in school and I played the violin. I started doing the 4th grade. How many of you here take music lessons? Any of you? Oh, so many music lessons. Do you guys have here instruments too? A band? Whoa, do you have an orchestra? No? Okay. Well, we fit right in. Orchestra fits right into a band too. So at that time, we had strings, and so I picked up strings. But I asked my parents for a violin, and they told me that they did not have any money. And I cried and cried and cried. And even my sisters, and I love them to pieces, but they were a little bit older than me. And they said, you know what, Gail? You were so selfish. Why are you asking Mom and Dad for a violin when we don't have enough money? And I felt so bad. But guess what? Lo and behold, on my birthday, I unwrapped a rented violin. And when I got into the 6th grade, my dad bought me my own violin. And so from then, I just started writing. I started writing, and I started playing the violin, and it just inspired me to go out and do more. And I continued to write in high school. I was in the newspaper staff, and I did the news, and I got internships, and then I went on and I went to college. And while I was in college, I met Dr. Dawn Mabalon. This is her right here. And she had started a poetry reading series in Southern California. She was at UCLA, and I was in Southern California. And she started it, and I went there, and I read my first poem ever to a group like this. And I was hooked. How many of you guys write poetry? Anybody here? Rap verses? Anybody do beats? Anybody? I know you do. Someone looks like they do right there. And so yes, see, you open the door. You open the door and say, yes, that's me, I do that. And so I started doing that, and I started working with Dr. Dawn Mabalon. And she herself was from Stockton. And she came from a family of farm workers as well. And she went to community college. And then after community college, she went to UCLA. And after she went to UCLA, she went to Stanford. And she is known as possibly one of the first Pinays, a Filipino-American woman who graduated from Stanford with a history degree. So when we talk about the book that she wrote about Larry Itliong, you know that she wrote it as a professional historian. So when you're reading it, she didn't read this information by reading it in another book, because there was no book. She wrote this book by looking through documents. So when you're a historian, how do you think that you gather your information? If no one had ever written a book about Larry Itliong, where do you think you're going to find clues to who he was and what he did? Documents, yes. What else? Oh. Searching the many facts about him? Yes. And in history books, yes, she tried to read as many history books and looked for him. Research, yes. She would go all the way to Detroit at Wayne State University, where the UFW archives are, and she would read all day. I think she used to be there. She could be there all day at night, but I think just recently she could only be there during the day. They changed the hours on her, but she would be there for many, many hours looking through documents and finding information. Oh my gosh, oral history! Yes, interviews with people who knew him. That is exactly right. So she had done all of these things. Yes. Yes. So tracking down people who were friends with him and going to the cities that he was in to find information about him. So that is exactly what she did. So when you read this book, know that she knitted this together. I was there. She was such a perfectionist, she tried to write this more than 30 times, and I was there telling her, no, don't do that. This is really, really good right now. This could take forever. But we had a very strict deadline for ourselves to finish this book. And so we worked on it. We almost made it like a movie. We divided it up in scenes. We figured out which parts were going to appeal to kids. And guess what? The first draft, we gave it to the kids that we knew. I have 4 kids, and we let them read it, and guess what they told us? Guess what the feedback was? Anybody? Did they love it? What do you think? They kind of enjoyed it. So our first draft, like anything that you do, which you just have to do anyway to get out there, wasn't that great. And in fact, the kids told us, this is boring. That's my daughter. She was like, oh, this is boring. There's so many facts here. And so we went back, and we were very persistent, and we kept on doing it over and over and over and over again. And which is something kind of like riding a bike. You guys do something over and over and over again to get it right? You're nodding your head? Yeah, so this is what we did to make sure that we were telling a story that you guys would enjoy, that children would enjoy, adults would enjoy, but also was historically and factually correct and had documentation behind it, so it was the truth to children to give it to you. So you open the book, and it says, I have beautiful eyes. Ang aking mata ay maganda. And this one says, I have a beautiful nose. Ang aking ilong ay maganda. And so, I wrote this in college. Guess how long it took for me to publish it? How long? How many think 3 years? 5 years? Okay, 8 years. How about 10 years? Yes, whoever raised their hand for 10 years, it took 10 years to find a publisher. A woman published this, a Pinay published this, who had her own publishing house. And so when Dawn and I were talking about the book, I called her up and I said, and I was really scared because she was busy. She was in San Francisco, and sometimes you think about things and you never know if they're gonna happen. And I called her, and I wasn't sure if the Larry Itliong book was gonna happen, but I was gonna put my all into it. And I called her and I said, hey, listen, why don't we do this into a children's book? She was writing the adult or the college full biography of Larry Itliong, so why not do the children's book first? And she agreed. And from there, we started writing, and we wrote it in less than 2 years with the illustrations that you see right here. But because it took me so long to get published, and I went to many different publishers to try to do the Beautiful Eyes book, that I knew that we could not wait. Dawn and I both knew we could not wait for this book to be published. And so we decided to do it ourselves. And I said, listen, I've been wanting to do a publishing house myself. I was inspired by the woman who opened the door to me and published my book. So I'm gonna do this, and we're gonna do it, and we're not gonna ask for anyone's permission. What does that feel like? Can you imagine doing something and not asking anyone's permission? Right? Freedom. And so we had the freedom to do this in our timeline because we were doing it ourselves. This was the community telling their own story. So when you leave here, if nothing, you don't remember anything, I want you all to remember that when you tell your story because it matters, your family story, your history, you don't need permission. And we had waited so long for this book. We did not want to wait anymore. We did not want to ask anyone's permission. And we were afraid if someone did give us permission, they would say, wait, you're going to tell this story? I think you need to change Larry Itliong a little bit. You need to change his hair, and oh, you can't talk about how we got to the United States, and oh, you can't say this and that. And so we thought to ourselves, you know what, even someone opened the door for us, there was a chance they wouldn't let us tell the story. So we did it, and we did it on our own terms. And so I hope you guys do that. I hope you play your music. I hope you write your stories, you write your beats, you write your raps, you do your band music. Everything that you can do, and you do it with the freedom with how we did this. And you know, we don't have a lot of money. When we thought of this and we were working on this, we thought to ourselves, oh, this is so great. But we didn't have any money. This is very expensive to do this, and very expensive to think about doing this for other Filipino-American historians, or not historians, for other Filipino-American heroes. So we asked the community, and we told them, listen, if you donate, we will give you this book, and we promise we're going to write it within 2 years. And we promised the community that we were going to give them this book. In addition, if you donated, you would get this book, which tells your children that they're beautiful. And then you get this book, which tells your children their history. And then we were going to give you Dawn's other book, Little Manila's in the Heart. And that book was going to tell you about Stockton and Delano. So you get history and you get the beauty of our people and everyone here. So I want you to remember that. Two friends can do a bunch of things, and ideas can grow. And even if you don't have the money and you don't have the influence and you come from backgrounds that are similar to Dawn's and myself, you can put your mind to it. You can do these things and be able to show the nation and the country your stories, like what we're doing with our book tour. And the first stop is Delano. We're going to Chicago, we're going to New York, we're going to Alaska, we're going to Wisconsin, we're going to Michigan, and we're going to major universities. And we're going to tour this book. When we showed this book to San Francisco, we launched it at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. And the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, there's not a lot of people that look like us at all in there. And so we're so proud to be able to bring this book